now, from the United States of America.
Hi, you have reached the Decahedron RPG Cast feedback line. Just start talking at the sign of the tone.
Joe and James, Evil Jeff. Let's get back to your character backgrounds, part 3. You asked me about the paragraph versus the bullet points, and I will say I like both of them. Do I like one better than the other one? Actually, I like them both for different reasons. And one of the interesting things I felt about it was the fact that when you read them both, at the end, I got a different feel for which way the character might go, how they might act or react to things. So that was interesting in that aspect. And maybe it's just because of the fact that, you different wordings that you used, different words that were used and so forth. So, I think that's just part of the English language there. But yeah, both of them I liked. I got there's a little more flavor with the paragraph, but the bullet point was solid. So yeah, we like that one. That 6-sentence PC that you did, that really was the weakest of the 3. I agree with you, for not liking it. So there is that. So yeah, I'm going to call back with my GM hat on.
Hello, Evil Jeff. Thanks for the call there. I'm going to declare a victory then, because one of the points you said that you didn't think that bullet points would be sufficient. And you said you liked my bullet points. So as I said back when we were talking about it, I think that's because when you first heard bullet point, you were thinking very terse, 1 or 2 word bullet points, as opposed to my sentence format bullet points. But I'll still take the victory. Yeah. Probably the reason you got a different feel for them is because they were written kind of independently, of course. And so mine's in a different spot. And specifically, the bullet point one had a line in there about Grudman hopes to go back and convert his own people. And that wasn't in the paragraph. One of the things about the paragraph is once I had written it, I whittled it down to make the language as condensed as possible. But thanks for liking them both. As for the 6-sentence PC, yeah, that really surprised me. I thought it would come out stronger than that. And when I saw the result, I even went back and I looked over it. I'm like, yeah, no, those everything it says. And it's just a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. If you search for 7-sentence NBC, because that's really what the article was, you'll see a lot of people really love it. And a lot of people are saying, wow, this is going to improve my GMing skill. And no, that following this one format to describing NPC is not going to help your GMing skills at all. It's going to make you have NPCs that are that are always described in the same way, in the same method, not necessarily sounding like the same NPC. And like I said, if you're going to have the same 7 sentences all the time, you don't need 7 sentences. You need a little form with 7 blanks in it. Motivation, blank. Description, blank. And I think that would be more effective. But anyway, thanks for the feedback. And by the way, everyone, that's Evil Jeff from the Minions and Musings podcast. It's a great podcast. Check it out.
This is DM Evil Jeff, and we're going to discuss Grudman here, and whether or not we're going to allow him to be lawful good or lawful neutral with good tendencies, being he's a cleric thief and knowing in AD&D First E that no thieves are supposed to be good. So let's discuss that. Going back to your background that you wrote, and you did the prose version versus the bullet points when you talked about this, I would ask a couple questions. First, is the thief going to advance in levels? If you were going to have the thief advance in levels, I would not allow you to be lawful good because, you're supposed to be doing those thief skills. Those thief skills are supposed to be advancing. Otherwise, I would say you're a dual class, first level thief, first level cleric, and you've turned your back on the thief. So all you have are those skills. At that point, I would allow you to be lawful good. But you also mentioned about being a defender of the innocent. And I would ask you the question of, are you willing to bend the rules to help out the innocent, to truly be a champion of them? Because if you were, then I would say, why not be neutral good? Because lawful good, you're not going to break the rules. But as neutral good, you follow the rules, but then occasionally you are going to break them because it's going to help defend the innocent and champion the good. That's where I would go with. What do you think?
Hey, thanks again for that, DM Evil Jeff. So a couple points. You asked if he was going to advance in levels as a thief. And I would say yes, because he's a multi-class character, not a character with 2 classes. However, first edition differentiated it. And you said, in that case, I wouldn't allow it. And I'm going to toss back with, that's because you're thinking of him as a thief. And he was never a thief. He was a spy, right, for his people. So he had the spy skill set, and the closest class that aligns to is the thief class. And so it's the thief class for rules purposes, but he was never a thief in the way you think of people being a thief. And therefore, that's why they can't be good, because they're stealing stuff and all that stuff. But that wasn't his thing. He was doing the service for his people to go and infiltrate places, hide in shadows, climb the walls, pick the back, find information that needed to so they could do their raids. This is why I don't like class-based systems, frankly, because you have to do mental leaps like this. Whereas with a skill-based system, I wouldn't have to say he's a thief. I could just say he has these abilities because he was a spy. The second thing you said, is he willing to bend the rules? No, he's not. And the reason I went with lawful good versus just being neutral good, because of his race, they are a lawful evil race. And so I figured he grew up lawful evil. And to make the jump from lawful evil to lawful good takes a leap. It takes that road to Damascus event, change of heart. But you're only changing on one axis. The core, the lawful part is still there. You're not asking too much of the character. If you're saying not only are you going to abandon your evil ways, but you're going to abandon your lawful ways, it was more of a leap than I wanted him to take. And so that's why I said he would go lawful neutral with good tendencies, because I figured he would be at a midway point of that journey, and I would just make the change later. Because it says that they can't start as any good alignment. So it would be a pretty quick switch. So that's why not neutral good. Thanks for the call.
This is James. The paladin idea, I think you're on the mark. That the paladin are more zealot in the way that they do things. Also, with a cleric, you don't have to be lawful good. You don't have to be the goody two-shoes of the party and save everyone and anyone. And that's my idea. I just could never do a paladin in a decent manner. But anyone who can, all the power to you. Have a good day.
Hey, James. Thanks for that. It's weird having co-hosts calling as a commenter, isn't it? But you weren't part of that episode. So you said that clerics don't have to be lawful good, as if the zealotry is tied to the lawful goodness. And I don't think that's the case. You might be able to make an argument that zealotry is tied to the lawfulness of it, because a chaotic person might be more like, hey, man, you do you, I'll do me, because chaos is more about the individual than the group. On the 9-point alignment system, on the 3-point alignment system, very different, but that's not what this is about. So you really didn't address why, but even if I give you that, lawful good, okay, you'll have a lawful good cleric and a lawful good paladin. We expect the paladin to be that lawful good butthead. Why don't we expect the cleric to be a lawful good butthead? We should. I don't see any reason why they're doing it. And we came up with all the reasons why, and I never addressed the actual real reason. The real reason is because in the rule book, Gary Gygax said that paladins will not do this, and they will not allow people to do this, and they will lose their paladin abilities if they do. And that was never written down for the cleric. That's the real reason why. Thanks for the feedback.
Hi, Joe and James. It's Sam. I had some feedback for your episode on genders. Now, personally, as a player, I'm unlikely to play a female character. I would play a character that's not a straight male if I have a concept that warrants it. I haven't yet, but that one's definitely open. In video games, I've played female characters, but I usually stick to male because that's my fantasy and that's what how I get myself in the game. Now, as a DM, I've voiced all kinds of characters. One time, my players were convinced that this older woman had been kidnapped and she was in danger, but it was actually just because she was voiced about as well as women in Monty Python skits, and I'm an unconvincing actor. Thank you, guys. Wonderful podcast. I'll listen to you more soon.
Hey, Sam, thanks for calling. I'm glad you did, because I'm always afraid that people are going to, for the email feedbacks, people are going to think I'm making up sock puppet feedbacks, and I'm not. I'm not that desperate, because I have people that call in, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you calling instead of sending the email. About the gender stuff, it's interesting that you said that you would consider playing a non-straight character, whereas that's something I had never even occurred to me. When we did our character, we did it straight on, physical gender and never on orientation. And the only thing I can think of the reason that didn't occur to me is, as I've said in the past, when we did the Sex and D&D episode, those situations, mating situations, if you will, doing air quotes, you can't see them, don't come up in the games I run, and I don't play in games where stuff like that comes up. So character sexual orientation has never been an issue one way or the other. So yeah, that was interesting. Next, about video game immersion. Well, you said you wouldn't play a female character in a video game because that's your character. And so I guess by having the male character helps you to be more immersed in the game world. I guess that's not a situation I'm normally going for, or at least the avatar doesn't affect that situation. And I guess when I'm saying that, it's like I said, it's that over the person camera angle in some video games, like Metroid. Metroid's actually a female character for everybody, and it never bothered me one way or the other. And like the fighting games I was thinking about, where you have the side shot of the characters. So those are the ones where I normally play a female type character. I don't normally do it in multiplayer games. It's only, on my own. I think it was Star Trek Online. I did a female character, and I was amazed, like on a raid or whatever, the number of guys that would be hitting on me because that character was female, so they assumed I was female, for one, which, whatever. I guess that's a fair assumption, except they were wrong. But two, I'm there to play a game. I'm not there to, be hit on. To every female video gamer out there, on behalf of the entire male species, I apologize, except I'm not part of the problem. So I guess I'm in no place to do that. You had your funny little game story about doing the voices. Yeah, I generally don't do voices much during games. I might do a little accent or something to differentiate which character they're talking to, but I'll usually say who it is. You got to play with your strength. You go with the dialogue itself. You go with the interaction and not silly voices. But that's for me. Other GMs do it very effectively. Thanks again.
Jason here. Just want to say I am looking forward to episode 50, the gold episode. I don't mind when you guys ramble. I enjoy rambling podcasts, but I know that, again, makes me a unicorn in some circles. As far as the playing the opposite gender, a different gender podcast, I enjoyed it. I really like the comments you guys made, and like you say, I think for the most part we're kind of on the same sheet of music there. So keep up the great work. Can't wait to hear you guys go whither and thither, and I will talk to you soon.
Jason, thanks for calling. Hey everyone, that's Jason from the Nerds RPG Variety Cast. Give it a listen. As for episode 50, it came out of edit a lot better than it was while we were recording. We recorded for 25 minutes and I chopped it down to about 12, I think, maybe 10. And after the edit, it came out a lot better. So I'm not feeling as bad about that as when we recorded it. As for the gender stuff, yeah, we already talked about the gender. And I think that covered everything. Thanks for the feedback.
Joe and James, it's Evil Jeff. Just listened to your latest podcast about the gender bender and everything, and I wanted to chime in on that. It really depends, but I do play female characters at times, and it all really comes down to sort of the background that I end up envisioning. Oh, look, there's that background word again. But just something, whenever I get an idea of what the world is for the DM, and we talk about it, sometimes these ideas come to mind. So, yeah, the hard part, I think, is whether or not you can effectively play an opposite gender character. And when I do play these female characters, I try to model them after someone I know and or somebody that I observe. Sometimes there's TV characters or things like that that I've observed plenty of, and with enough source material, I can imitate to a pale degree that character or that idea of that character there. So, but also understanding motivations, I think, helps. Should everybody do it? No. It just depends on how comfortable you are imitating it, not just, I think some people end up doing it like, you hear some people talk about elves and dwarves. They're really playing a human with pointy ears and not really getting into the character itself, that race or ancestry, whatever you want to say. So I got other calls I owe you, so I'll be calling back later.
Hey again, Evil Jeff. Thanks again for that piece of feedback. And for the listeners, don't be expecting more for when he says I owe you more, because I already played that. I'm playing these in order of the episode that they're responding to, and he left that one first and then the others, but this was the last episode that came out. So, yeah. As for playing female characters, yeah, I've already talked about that. You said that the background supports it. Yeah, like I said, I don't play a female to play a female. I don't play a male to play a male. I have a concept for a character that just evolves from the situation and from the world and from all that, and it just hits me. And it might be male and it might be female. I never know until I'm making the character. And sometimes it starts one way and ends the other by the end of character creation. It's all about the character concept, which I think may or may not be different from character background. I wonder if that should be an episode. Concept, I'm writing that down. Concept versus background. And I'll talk to James and see if he wants to do an episode on that. If not, maybe somebody else wants to join me for that. And the other thing you said is people playing elves as humans with pointy ears. And you can't see me. I am literally standing up and not applauding because I don't want the noise on the mic. But yes, I would be applauding you if I didn't want to make that noise. I agree with that 100%. In fact, I don't like those races that are like that in any role-playing game. I think of it more in terms of science fiction role-playing games. So my general solution for that is I just don't have races. I'm a big fan of human-only campaigns for fantasy, for science fiction, for all of it. When I do races, my elves are not the standard D&D elves. My elves are living plants. And my dwarves are not, read page 52 of Forgotten Realms, my dwarves are living rock. You don't have the, do dwarf females have beards question, because there are no dwarf females, or if you want to get technical, there's no dwarf males. If you say that females are the ones that produce offspring, then they're all females, but they look male to us. That's neither here nor there. In the heart of every mountain, if a dwarf father goes there, he can carve out a new clan. And that's where my dwarfs come from. And they have a very different way of thinking. And when you get a player come into my world and he wants to play one of those, it's like I have to give him all this background and I have to give him all this stuff. In my science fiction campaign, I have a race called the Ontu, which are a little bit like the Dralosites in Star Frontiers, if you will, in the terms that they're the amorphous blob character, but they reproduce by division. And when they reproduce, each half gets the full memories of every, going all the way back to creation, whatever that moment was for the Ontu, except, memory falters after time. These two halves have the same exact memories. And those memories, like I said, they go all the way back. And that gives them a very different way of looking at the universe and a very different way of looking at individuality and stuff like that. And to hand that off to a player, it pings me if they can't do it well, because again, that part of the world I consider mine, right? Yeah, my solution is generally to do human-only campaigns because I find that a lot of people cannot do off-the-wall races effectively. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks a lot for your feedback, sir.
Jason here. I probably am a little younger. I think the fact the emailers who don't like the robo version of themselves are both okay with calling is a good reason to continue to use it when they email. Smiling face with horns.
Okay, that was Jason. He sent that one in my text, and I'm 99% sure that he did that because last Feedback Friday, I said that no one has sent email from text, and Jason was the first person to send it by every method. So he did that just to not have the quadruple crown, but have the quintruple crown of being the first person to send feedback by every method that we have available. Thank you for that, Jason. Just to clarify that a little bit, though, Heather has sent feedback from text, but she's always sent it to my personal number. Being my daughter, she has my real number that rings to my real phone and everything. She has sent feedback by text, but not to the Decahedron line. And Sam's general method, although I called it email, what Sam usually does is he contacts me on Signal, which is kind of like text. And same thing with caller Dustin, who sent in the feedback about identity theft. That was actually through Signal. Anyway, neither here nor there. So, sir, you are now the quadruple crown winner. Congratulations. Yes, you are indeed younger than me. Not quite by 10 years, but by more than 5 years. I beeped it out because I didn't know if you really wanted that read out to the universe. And as for the voices, you see it worked because Sam actually called, and it had the opposite effect for Heather because Heather didn't say anything at all this last episode. So win one, lose one, I guess. Thanks for the feedback, sir. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening. That is all the feedback we got this time. It was quite a bit, and I really appreciate it. It looks like this episode's going to go a little long, but the 10 to 15 minute time limit that I do, that's really for normal episodes. Feedback episodes go as long as they go. So I'm just going to wrap it up. I'm going to say thanks for listening. By all means, please send us feedback. All the information is in the outro that you're about to hear. It is in the show notes. And I was going to say, and don't forget, during the month of May, well, you have until the end of May to send us feedback and tell us what your favorite gaming-related book is. It doesn't have to be a rule book. In fact, I prefer that it not be a rule book, but even if it is, I don't care. I'll consider it. Send in that feedback. I'm going to save them all up until the end of the month. Of all those feedbacks, we're just going to pick one randomly, and that winner we're going to send a copy of Through Dungeons Deep. It's a great book. I will physically mail you a physical copy. If you're in the U.S., I'll probably just order it from Amazon and have it drop shipped rather than me getting it and then me sending it out. But if you're elsewhere, then I will order one and have it shipped to you. That is everything. Thanks for listening. Wednesday's episode, number 52, is called Where Do I Begin? It's about in a plot-driven campaign and story-based campaign. Where in that story do you start the campaign? And then episode 54 is going to be about crits and fumbles. So again, thanks for listening, and until next time, bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Decahedron RPG Cast. We'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a voice message by calling 562-774-2278. That's 562-RPG-CAST, or by visiting sayhi.chat/Decahedron. You can also email us at feedback@decahedron.com. Links are in the show notes. For more information, visit decahedron.com. Remember that Decahedron is spelled with a K. Music is by Kevin MacLeod. Logo is by Design Cat. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep those dice rolling.